The city of Chicago was very big and bright. Tall buildings touched the sky. Cars moved fast. People walked quickly. Inside one of the tallest buildings was a man named Ethan Hayes. He was not just any man. He was a billionaire, a man with more money than he could ever spend. Ethan stood by the window in his big office. He looked out at the city lights. Just an hour ago, he made another big deal. He earned $1 billion from that deal. People would think he should be happy, but Ethan didn't smile. His face was sad. His helper, Jenna, came into the room. She held some papers. "Mr. Hayes, your jet is ready," she said. "Should I get everything prepared for your flight to Indiana?" Ethan didn't answer right away. He kept looking out. "The window. Cancel it," he said at last. "I'm not ready to leave yet." Jenna looked surprised. "But sir, the meeting in Bloomington is very important." "I'll handle it from here," Ethan said. He had already made up his mind. That night, Ethan's black car waited for him downstairs. The driver opened the door. Ethan sat inside and gave the driver a strange order. "Take me to Bloomington." The driver looked back. "Are you sure, sir?" "Yes," Ethan said softly. Bloomington was a small town far from the city. Ethan had left that town more than 10 years ago. He never thought he would return. It was the place where he grew up. But it was also full of sad memories. As the car moved closer to Bloomington, Ethan's mind went back in time. He remembered the small library where he used to read business books and magazines. He couldn't even afford to buy them, so he just read in secret. He remembered the street corner where he sold newspapers when he was a boy. Then the car passed by a place called Ruby's Diner. Ethan sat up straighter. The diner looked just the same. The lights still blinked. The red chairs inside were old but still there. Nothing had changed. "Stop here," Ethan said quietly. The car stopped. Ethan got out and walked inside. The smell of grilled cheese and coffee filled the air. It was the same smell from long ago. Ethan walked to the back and sat at a corner booth. That was his booth, the one he always sat in as a teen. He remembered the words he told himself in that very seat many years ago. "I'll never come back here unless I've made it big." And he had made it big. But he still felt empty. A waitress walked over to his table. She had dark brown hair in a messy bun. Her uniform looked old from washing it too many times. "What can I get you, sir?" she asked with a small smile. Ethan looked up and froze. It was Emily Carter. She had been the smartest girl in his high school. They were more than just classmates. They had been best friends. They had dreams together. They used to talk about leaving Bloomington and building a better life. Now here she was, serving tables in the same town. Ethan tried not to look shocked. "Steak and coffee," he said quickly, trying to act normal. Emily didn't recognize him. She went back to the kitchen. When she returned with his food, Ethan couldn't stay quiet anymore. "Emily?" he asked softly. She looked surprised. "How do you know my name?" "Bloomington High." "Class of 2012, Ethan said. Emily's eyes grew wide. She looked closer at him. "Ethan Hayes," she said, almost in a whisper. Ethan smiled. "The one and only." Emily gasped. "You're the Ethan Hayes, the billionaire?" "I didn't think I'd see you again," she said, her voice shaking. "And I didn't expect to find you here," Ethan said kindly. Emily's face turned serious. "Some of us don't get second chances." They sat and talked for a long time. The other waiters just smiled and let them be. Everyone in the diner seemed to know something special was happening. They laughed about high school memories. They talked about teachers, old friends, and the dreams they used to share. But then Emily got quiet. Ethan looked at her and asked gently, "What happened to you, Emily?" Her voice was shaky. "I got into Harvard," she said. "But in my second year, my dad died." Ethan's smile faded. "My mom got really sick after that. My little brother was just 10. I had to leave school and take care of them," she continued. "I took any job I could get. Cleaning, babysitting, washing. Dishes? I came back to Bloomington to help my mom. That's how I ended up at Ruby's diner. Ethan's heart felt heavy. The girl who once had the biggest dreams had given them up to care for her family. Her eyes looked tired. Her hands were rough from hard work. He looked at her and said, "I'm sorry." But Emily shook her head. "Don't be. Life doesn't always go as planned." That night, Ethan went back to his hotel and couldn't sleep. He kept seeing Emily's face, her tired eyes, her worn-out uniform, her broken dreams. He thought to himself, she deserved more. She still deserves more. But he didn't want to give her money like a handout. He wanted to help her start again. 2 days later, Emily walked to her old car after work. Something shiny caught her eye. There was a black envelope on her windshield. Her name was written in gold letters. It said, "Meet me at 9 a.m., Hayes Enterprises." Emily's hands shook as she held the envelope. The next morning she stood in front of a tall glass building in the city. It was beautiful and grand. She had never seen anything like it. She walked inside, and a woman in a suit led her to the top floor. Ethan stood there smiling. "Welcome, Emily," he said. Her mouth dropped open. The office had huge windows, a golden clock, and soft white rugs. "I want to offer you a job," Ethan said. "A manager position, good pay, full health care. I'll also help pay your mother's hospital bills. And your brother's school." Emily's eyes filled with tears. "Why?" she asked. Ethan walked closer. "Because you were always meant for more than that diner. You're smart, strong and brave. You didn't fail. You sacrificed. Now it's time you got something back." Emily didn't speak. She couldn't. Her heart was full, and for the first time in many years she smiled, but unknown to them both, someone was watching. A man named Landon Briggs, Ethan's enemy in business, had found out about Emily, and he had a plan to use her. Emily couldn't believe what was happening. Just a week ago, she was taking orders at Ruby's diner. Now she stood in a beautiful glass office, wearing a new dress suit Ethan had sent her. Her hair was brushed neatly, her nails were clean, and most importantly, her heart was full of hope. She had a new job at Hayes Enterprises. Ethan gave her a big desk in a lovely corner office. The view from the window showed the whole city below. It looked like a dream. "You'll be managing our community projects," Ethan told her. "Things like building schools, helping hospitals, and supporting families." Emily's eyes sparkled. "I've always wanted to do something meaningful." Ethan nodded. "And I've always needed someone I can trust." Emily worked hard. Every day she showed up early. She read reports, attended meetings, made calls, and helped people. Everyone in the office loved her. They said she was kind, smart, and always calm, even when things got busy. At night, she went home to her small apartment. But she was happy. She could now pay for her mother's medicine. Her younger brother, Dylan, had started school again and was doing well. For the first time in years, life felt good. But not everyone was happy. Landon Briggs was a sharp businessman who once worked with Ethan. Years ago, they were friends, but Landon got greedy. He stole money from their company and lied to investors. Ethan found out and kicked him out. Now Landon wanted revenge. He sat in his dark office, watching Emily's photos on his computer screen. "So this is the girl," he said with a sneer. "Ethan trusts her. That's a weakness." Landon made a plan. He sent one of his people, a young man named Chris, to find Emily. Chris was smooth, friendly, and always smiling. He waited outside Hayes Enterprises every day, pretending to sell flowers. One afternoon, Emily was walking out of work when Chris offered her a rose. "For you," he said with a warm smile. Emily smiled back, surprised. "That's kind." "Thank you." Chris came again the next day, this time with coffee. "I heard you work hard. You deserve something nice," he said. Emily was shy but kind. She didn't know he was sent by Landon. Little by little, Chris became her friend. He asked her questions about her job, small ones at first. Do you like your office? What kind of projects do you handle? Does Ethan trust you with big decisions? Emily, thinking he was just curious, answered gently. She never gave away big secrets, but even small details were useful to Landon. Then one day, Chris invited her for lunch. I'd love to know more about you, he said. Emily smiled. Sure, why not? They sat in a little cafe. Emily talked about her past, her family, and how Ethan gave her a second chance. Chris listened and nodded. He recorded everything on his hidden phone. That night, he sent the audio to Landon. She's clean, Chris said. She's not stealing or hiding anything. She's just good. Landon laughed. Perfect. Then let's ruin her anyway. The next day, Landon sent fake emails to a reporter. The emails made it look like Emily was stealing money from Hayes Enterprises. He also sent photos, edited ones, that made it seem like Emily was meeting with Landon in secret. By the next morning, news spread like wildfire. Billionaire's trusted assistant accused of stealing funds. Is Ethan Hayes too blind to see the truth? Emily walked into work and found people whispering. They stared at her with worried eyes. Then Ethan called her into his office. His face was serious. Emily, do you know what's happening? Emily nodded, tears in her eyes. Yes, but it's not true. Ethan showed her the fake emails and photos. I know it's not you, he said calmly, but we have to pause your work until we clear this. Emily felt like the floor fell from under her feet. She nodded slowly. I understand, she said softly. She walked out of the office, her heart broken. At home, she sat on her bed and cried, why is this happening to me again? But something inside her refused to give up. She wiped her tears, stood up and said, no, I'm not going to let this ruin me. Not again. The next day, she started her own search. She went back to the cafe where she had lunch with Chris. She asked the waiter for the security camera footage. At first, they said no. But then the manager recognized her from the news and said, I believe you. Let me help. The footage showed Chris recording her without permission. Emily also noticed something else. He had a small microphone in his jacket. She took the video to a private investigator. The man worked fast. He found out that Chris wasn't who he said he was. His real name was Christopher May, and he worked for Landon Briggs. The investigator gave Emily a full report. She took the report and went straight to Ethan. Here, she said. This proves I didn't do anything wrong. Ethan read it slowly. His eyes narrowed. Landon Briggs, he said. I should have known. He called a press conference the next day. Ethan stood in front of flashing cameras and busy reporters. I want to make something clear, he said. Emily Carter is innocent. She's done nothing wrong. All the fake stories were part of a plot by someone who wants to hurt me. And her. He turned to Emily, who stood beside him. She is brave, honest, and strong. And from today, I'm promoting her. She will now be the head of community programs at Hayes Enterprises. The crowd clapped loudly. Emily's hands shook. She looked at Ethan. Thank you, she whispered. You earned it, he said. But even after the truth came out, Emily still had one question in her heart. Why did Ethan help her so much? Later that night, they sat alone in his office. The city. Lights twinkled outside. Emily turned to him. Ethan, can I ask you something? Of course, he said. Why did you come back to Bloomington that night? Why did you help me? Ethan took a deep breath. Because, he said, you were the only person who believed in me when I had nothing. I was just a boy with big dreams and torn shoes. You treated me like I was already somebody. I never forgot that. He looked into her eyes. And maybe I just wanted to be near you again. Emily's eyes softened. She stood up, walked to the window, and whispered, You saved me, Ethan. No, he said, joining her. You saved yourself. I just gave you a hand. There was silence. Then, for the first time in a long time, Their hands touched. It was simple, soft, and full of old feelings returning. Outside, the city kept moving. But inside that office, something new had begun. The annual Hayes Charity Gala was fast approaching. It was a big night where powerful people came together to raise money for good causes, schools, hospitals, and orphanages. The event was fancy. Long gowns, tuxedos, bright lights, and soft music filled the ballroom each year. This year, something was different. Ethan wanted Emily to host it. Me? Emily gasped when he told her. Yes, you, Ethan said with a warm smile. You've been the heart behind most of our programs. You deserve to be seen. Emily was nervous. I've never even been to a fancy event like that. You'll be amazing, Ethan replied gently. He sent her a dress the next day. It was long, flowing, and silver like moonlight. When she wore it, even she couldn't believe what she saw in the mirror. For the first time, she didn't just feel strong, she felt beautiful. The night of the gala arrived. People poured into the big hall, dressed in their best. Lights sparkled. Soft music floated in the air. A red carpet stretched across the entrance. When Emily walked in, everyone turned to look. Some gasped, some whispered. Ethan, standing by the grand staircase, stared in awe. You look breathtaking, Emily smiled, a little shy. Thank you for believing in me. The gala began. Emily gave her welcome speech. Her voice was steady, calm, and full of heart. She spoke about children who needed help, families who were hungry, and dreams that were waiting to be built. By the time she finished, people were wiping tears from their eyes. The applause was thunderous. After dinner, the music started. Couples moved to the center of the hall to dance. Emily stood to the side, watching. Then Ethan walked up and stretched out his hand. May I have this dance? Emily hesitated. I'm not good at this. Neither am I, Ethan whispered. Let's be bad together. She laughed and took his hand. They moved slowly, awkward at first, but then more in sync. Step by step, they relaxed. Everyone turned to look. A billionaire and a former waitress, dancing, smiling, laughing. It wasn't just a dance. It was a moment, a memory, a change. In that moment, the walls between them melted. The past didn't matter anymore. Not the pain, not the lies, not the loss. All that mattered was now. As they danced, Ethan leaned in and whispered, Do you remember the day we first met? Emily smiled. Of course, you ordered fries and spilled ketchup everywhere. Ethan chuckled. And you handed me extra napkins like it was normal. You looked so lost, she said softly. I was, Ethan replied. But when I saw your smile, I felt like I had a map again. Emily's eyes sparkled. You found your way. I think I just did, he whispered. The music slowed. The final note played. They stood still, eyes locked. Then, without planning, without fear, Ethan kissed her. Not fast, not rushed, just real. The room was silent. But in their hearts, 1,000 fireworks went off. The next day, the world was talking, not just about the millions raised at the gala, but about the woman who stole the billionaire's heart. Some people loved the story. Some said it was impossible. But Emily didn't care, because she had more than love now. She had a voice, a purpose, a place. Ethan and Emily started new projects together. They built schools in poor areas, created shelters for homeless families, and even started a small cafe where single moms could work and learn new skills. And yes, Emily named it Second Chances, a place for people who just needed one more shot at life. On the first day the cafe opened, Ethan walked in wearing a suit and tie. He sat at a corner table. Emily walked up and smiled. Fries and ketchup? He grinned. Of course. As she placed the order in front of him, he looked at her gently. Do you ever miss the old days? Emily looked around. the smell of coffee, the laughter of children, the hope in people's eyes. She turned back to Ethan and said, "No, because everything I ever wanted I found here." He reached for her hand across the table, and just like that, a new beginning had begun.